Hi, Steve.
I'm waiting to hear back from him.
You are?
Yeah, he said he'd get back to us.
Okay.
Oh, that's no
Maybe you want to
good.
touch base and
I'll
just say, yeah.
So did you get backed up? Sewer back up?
I know, I like
They
Ryan.
they do good stuff there.
Yeah, I like Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a point to.
Okay.
Long line.
That's lucky.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long night.
So what did you wind up having to do?
We got there like maybe 5 to 4. We got back here 4. Just got, yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you?
Well, was that the?
I know,
Or on a
today?
Sunday.
yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they don't know.
Would have taken pressure off of me.
Going to work at 6 a.m. probably
maybe-
fell asleep on Russ and I road.
You know, and somebody even said today, so maybe a deer came out.
Never know at that time.
He swerved and
Lost control, who knows?
Yeah, it's true.
Who knows?
Brian, I forwarded your
so yeah,
email
they'll be.
to the
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have to.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Oregon Village Board. It is Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 5 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and request roll call, please.
Peterson? Here. Glish?
Here.
Follig?
Here.
Carpenter? Here. Staton?
Here.
Jacobson? Here. Boudreaux?
Here.
Thank you. All present and accounted for. Now, go to item 3, which is public appearance, and item A under that item is discussion of
and the mission and scope of what we do. And for a variety of reasons, that just hasn't happened for us yet, you know. So our enrollment is down from 2010.
Okay, all right. So that's what's changed between 2010 and today. And I see from the overview in the packet that at the, it just says since 2010, the budget has gone down to 114,000. So a 30% reduction. What are you doing to increase that?
Well, I think the thing that's happening with our church that's exciting now is that we do have a pastor, a part-time pastor, in a leadership position. She's been there a year and a half. And I think, having been a member of that church for 30 years, we have a new excitement and a new energy among our congregation. Our committees are full, our session is full, our programming is full. We're involved in a vital strategic planning right now. We have people in from the presbytery. We're going through a self process now that we're calling Future Focus, and we're tying that into what are the needs for people within our church family. But then we're in a phase right now of that strategic planning where we're actually partnering with people in the community and asking, what is it that the community of Oregon needs right now? So I think we're hitting on all cylinders now,
Okay.
and we're moving in a good direction with some very stable and competent and just really wonderful leadership right now.
Very good. Have you thought about fundraising?
You know, the fundraising is always something. We're in the midst of our funding right now for the program year. And I think not having been on session a long time, but having been a part of the fundraising that goes on to meet our program budget for the year right now, that provides quite a challenge for our church family to meet the programming budgets. So we're just entering in that session right now. And really, any of the additional fundraising that we do, we have plowed right into mission projects.
Okay.
And those I listed on the first page, local mission projects and then regional and mission projects as well. So we haven't done any separate fundraising other than trying to meet our operating budget.
Very good, thanks. And let me know if you'd rather not answer this next question. Do you have a mortgage or own money on the property?
Yes, we do.
Could you care to share that number?
I wouldn't know exactly what it
Or
is.
approximately?
Somebody, our clerk of session is here, Dave Hansen, he has that
Hey,
number.
Dave.
Approximately $272,500 left on our mortgage.
Okay, very good. You certainly are the person that, you called the right person.
I wasn't surprised.
How many cents? Did you have a number in mind that would help you meet this obligation?
Well, speaking on behalf of the session, you know, Presbyterians are famous for doing everything by committee, so I'm at the microphone, but I want to reflect accurately the voices of the committees, of both the property committee and then our ruling session. Our first request was to have it dismissed. And the topic that keeps coming back to is in 2010, when we built there, in order to satisfy some water retention, there was an investment of about $300,000 to $320,000 in building the retention ponds. That was rolled into our mortgage, and as we revisit this with people that have been around the whole time, they say that is something that we've just never quite gotten out from under. And our mortgage situation would look a lot different had that not been part of the process of building out there. So
Okay, so are you saying the mortgage was not just for the building, it was for some storm water retention ponds?
in every conversation I've had, I've led to believe that the cost of those retention ponds was financed in our mortgage.
Okay,
I could address that.
sure.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Steve?
You have to come to the microphone, though.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't pick up for spectators and on TV.
In
And
2000.
just introduce yourself,
Hi, I'm-
please, for
I'm
the-
Steve Jensen. I'm a First Presbyterian Church member, and I was active in the development process for the annexation at the time we did that. When we bought the property in 2007. The village had a moratorium going on because they were dealing with a lot of stormwater issues, if I remember correctly. And we felt it was still worthwhile to do it. We felt the annexation was the appropriate way to go. For multiple reasons, we wanted to be a part of the village. We didn't want to separate ourselves from the village. When the process evolved to where we actually got close to being annexed, the village did not have a stormwater retention plan as of June of 2009, and I wrote a letter to the village saying, we'll do whatever it takes. And so we're not saying that we didn't know what we didn't know. When we went to a CARPC meeting, I believe you were there, Steve, and the gist of it was the Capital Area Regional Planning Committee wanted us to absorb 100% of the rain runoff, and there was no other areas in the Midwest that I know that have that type of regulation. We agreed on 90, but we needed to acquire more property. So at the time, the only property to look at was Nick Ladopoulos' property, All-Star Realty. And after some negotiations, Nick allowed us to co-share and utilize some of that property. And what we wound up doing was redesigning the whole drainage system to where if it wasn't going to be a church, it was probably going to be a water park. It worked out fine. That pond is now absorbing other water besides the water that's coming off of the immediate property. But that was something even in our most conservative guesstimating we didn't allow for. So that was on us. But that's how that came about. We needed to perform more engineering, more runoff, more property acquisition. And that's where those costs came from.
Okay, thank you.
And just to re-answer Jerry's question, the property development to do that land was probably at least 50% of the cost of the development.
Okay.
There was, you can't cover up black dirt. We moved black dirt for 6 weeks trying to get to solid ground. We didn't know,
Thanks for
but we're
answering.
glad we're there.
Thank you
Yeah.
for your responses.
You got it.
Jerry, I think at the time, there was actually, if I remember right, and I'm going off of what I remember reading in the paper, just as a professional engineer at the time, I think you were required to fully retain back-to-back 100-year storm events. Does that sound right?
They actually agreed to 90%.
90% of
Yes,
two
that
100-year back-to-back storm events,
Yeah,
which,
that's what they are. So
yeah, we have not seen that in almost 2 weeks now. But no, I just remember, I can attest that what they've been asked to do out there, and it, you know, there's not a natural drainage out there, and I think that was part of the reasoning behind that, but we've seen some unprecedented storm type events, and it's actually good that it's in place because there's been zero problems that I'm aware of out in that area, stormwater related, but I can attest you have an abundance of storm related excavation and ponds and structures out there that it would not be normally seen in a site like this.
Can you go over the boundaries really quick, what
Sure.
we're looking at?
Sure, exactly. I'm gonna just kind of do identify here, and then you'll kind of see the highlight will be the property, is this property here. So, what kind of flashed in green there. The additional land that I'm assuming this is the parcel you were talking about that you were able to acquire from All-Star Properties, is this little guy over, how come he doesn't highlight, there he goes. So that little green area over there, highlights over there, and you can see there's kind of we call it a little dry pond over here. That's now along the backside of the Oregon Parks neighborhood addition. But as far as ponds go, they've got this large pond here. They've got kind of a long, kind of kidney bean shaped kind of pond over here, and then a pond right here. And no really perceivable outlet other than infiltration and retention there.
Yeah, CARPC was, and Steve may remember this, CARPC was worried about flooding out the homes to the south. Not flooding, but having stormwater issues in their, in the backyard and things, so.
Yeah, Randy?
I just have a general, you guys are open to options. I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I think we have to be. Yeah, we're here in
Okay.
good faith to work out an options.
Thank you.
Anything else at this time? So Tom and Steve presented, did a nice job. And as a neighboring church, I would say I appreciate the presentation that you've made. I would ask if anyone else would like to make any comments that have not been made yet. We appreciate you being here for support. We heard what Tom said. Any other comments that need to be made at this time before we read the item for a closed session? And please keep in mind that negotiations always take place in closed session. They have to. Otherwise, you're not negotiating, you're tipping your hand right away, so. Go there. Okay, thank you. So item 4, the board may meet in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.851E, to consider communication from First Presbyterian Church regarding 2010 pre-annexation agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Follig,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Boudreaux,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Glish.
Yes.
Thanks. That carries. We will be going next door, so you folks can stay right here. Okay, we are back. Thanks for waiting patiently. We did make a decision and a vote in closed session. I will ask Matt Dragney, our attorney, to propose that to you as a proposal. We don't need an answer tonight. I mean, I wouldn't expect that. You can if you want to, but you can do as you want, as whether you do it tonight or I would assume you'll have discussion and come back. So, Matt, go ahead.
Okay. I'll start with the board's proposed solution to the problem, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the reasoning behind it. So the board is open to negotiating restructured payment terms to allow repayment of the amount that's due over a 30-year period, which is a pretty long time, without interest. I think the annual payment then boiled down to, we calculated it to be $4,920 a year for the next 30 years. We would like a security interest in the property, as you know, is common in a situation where someone's lending money. So we would like that to be part of the agreement. So if for some reason the property is sold or something, we have an opportunity to recover. There are some legal issues that the board had to be mindful of when thinking about how to handle this. Two in particular. One is there's a doctrine called the public purpose doctrine. And under the public purpose doctrine, the village isn't allowed to spend public money or give away public money without a public purpose. And so that was something the board had to think about with respect to whether it could relieve you of the obligation to pay this amount at all, and that would be a concern. The other concern we have that I have as a village attorney is, you know, we require parties who are annexing and developing land to pay the same thing that you've been asked to pay here. We just did that again recently with another party, and you know, in the discussion with them, they ask us the question, well, does everybody have to pay this? And our answer has been yes. And if our answer changes to, well, not everybody, that presents a real challenge for us, legally speaking, in terms of continuing to require, when people are bringing land in and developing in it and essentially creating traffic impacts on the roads, you know, if we're not collecting funds to help cover those costs, then that's going to create a challenge for the village down the road when we need to upgrade those roads. So those were at least two factors that the board needed to consider when deciding whether it would be possible to simply say, well, we can forgive this payment obligation. And so forgiving the obligation presented those two difficult challenges. So the alternative to that was to try and is essentially to offer to give you a fairly long time period to pay it back, 30 years without interest. So that's it.
Do you have any questions, Tom?
Yeah, you had mentioned an initial payment or,
Well, we didn't actually talk about when the first payment would be due. I guess we didn't talk about that.
Right.
So we'll have to nail down, you know, the idea was 30 years, so I think we'd have to structure it so the last payment would be made 30 years from when we enter into the agreement. We'll figure out whether the first
I
payment
maybe
is...
misunderstood you. You weren't talking about a percentage down or something to get it started?
No, we just equal payments, equal annualized payments for 30 years, and it's like $4,920 per year. Is that's the suggestion, and hopefully that would work for you folks.
Well, I think the next thing is to see that proposal from you, and then we'll respond to that. Right? It comes to us next as a...
You want it in writing?
No, I'm just wondering what comes next.
Oh, well, I think let us know if you'd like us to take the next step of drafting an agreement. Yeah.
And you would need that answer in the next day or so, or...
Well,
Our next board meeting is not till November 12th, so you got time.
Okay.
sometime between now and
Great.
November 12th.
Great. Because Presbyterians do everything by committee.
Or even the
Well,
next.
so do we.
Real fast. Or the following meeting is November 19th, so I mean, you have
Yeah.
2 meetings usually every month, so,
Great.
yeah.
Well, thank you for your time and consideration. We really appreciate having the chance to appear before you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, thanks.
we hope this fills a need that works for you folks. We can do this in a way that works for you.
We appreciate that.
No, that's me. That's all right. Okay, we will go to item number 6. Village Attorney and Village Administrator Report. This is from Personnel, Public Safety and Protection Committee meeting, August 27, 2018. Trustee Carpenter, please.
Sure, before I introduce this, Mike, do we actually have ordinance 1805 on tonight's agenda? I can't find it. It's a note as part of this agenda item, and I don't see it actually on the agenda. Am I just not seeing it? See the village administrator's note?
Yes.
I have mine. It's in my
Yeah,
It's on yours?
It's in my packet.
Yep.
Okay,
Got
cool.
one, too.
I'm just blind. All right, I will
Oh, you-
proceed. Okay, so, like Steve said, this is coming from the Personnel, Public Safety and Protection Committee meeting back in August. And this is a discussion of possible action regarding the introduction or the first reading of ordinance number 1805. This is an ordinance amending section 9.14 of the Village of Oregon Code of Ordinances, and it's related to outdoor burning. And just for background, the committee recommended unanimously to recommend this to the village board, along with the approval of the natural lawn and prairie restoration burn permit application. So I'm going to make a motion, right, that we approve ordinance.
Just to introduce it for the first reading.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we introduce for the first reading, 1805, number 1805, which is the natural lawn and prairie restoration burn permit application.
Thank you. We have a second. Thanks, Jerry.
The reason why I didn't do the next ordinance we have, we're gonna do it, first reading, second reading, adoption. I just
Gotcha.
thought we should, have the board talk about tonight,
Gotcha.
post it for a couple weeks and bring it back on the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any comments or questions, folks?
So,
Go ahead.
So this was in front of the board, and the village attorney was looking at the previous draft and had some concerns. So Matt worked with the fire chief, developed this ordinance, and then in the meantime, as Jeannie said, we took the prairie burning item to the committee, and so it all came together into this ordinance.
What parts of it changed from the last time we saw it? What didn't you like about it? What did you tweak in here, roughly?
Give me that.
Well, that's all right. I think I can remember, I think, some of the highlights. I think the biggest change is now we do actually allow prairie restoration fires, and there's a process for that. The other changes were, I'm trying to remember, because this has been to the board a couple of times. I think there were some tweaks to the setback requirements.
Yeah, distance from the fire pit to the building.
I think that's right.
Went
It's
from 20 to 15 and to 10, depending.
Glenn, was there anything else you can remember? Yeah, there was some smaller, kind of more drafting things that weren't so substantive, I would say, just more editorial drafting. But substantively, I think those are the major changes. And I think, as you may recall, I think that the issue that was the subject of some discussion at an earlier meeting was outdoor burning, outside the context of what this ordinance would allow, and that's still not allowed.
Nothing on the burn application changed, anything major there, like the
So this is the first time you've seen the burn permit application for prairie fires. This wasn't before you previously? Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At committee.
But not at the village board.
Under this, we will not have a burn permit, correct? Yeah.
Well, you will for.
Only for
prairies,
Only
just for
for
prairies.
the
Right.
specific backyard
Yeah,
prairies. But
that's
for
what I meant.
Yeah, for like right now, if someone wants to burn in their backyard, they would on a certain day go to the fire department, get the permit, and then if conditions are right, then they would burn and they would have that permit. But we're doing away with that permit.
Yeah, I meant the prairie,
Yeah.
the prairie burn permit. Because we did see that before, and it's basically the same.
Yeah, no, the last draft with that prairie restoration burning, the money went to the fire district. After talking to Matt and Mike, we brought all the checks we going to Peggy or to the village here, as far as the depository on any of those permits. And other than that, the other things that were changed in there, just clarity. One of the things that Matt and I just made sure we try to make it really flow and that people understood it. So might we, meaning the fire folks, might understand it, and other municipalities, that you have fire folks or fire wardens or fire marshals per se that enforce this stuff, and just to make the general public down to layman's terms, so it's very easily and understandable by more folks than just us.
Ready?
So Chief, I think I asked you, so the person doing the burn obviously has to be certified to do that,
Correct. You're
correct?
talking about prairie burns, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that certification is up to the folks that we have here, basically determining what that might be. And it might be a DNR class, it might be, what is it, Better Homes and Gardens, Dane County Parks.
Okay.
There's a bunch of different ones out there, but it talks about prairie restoration and talking about the fire suppression.
Okay.
One of the things that I can assure you, Randy, is that any direction we take on this, our folks underneath Captain Benden's leadership with the inspection department, our folks will be physically going out, making sure that these things are addressed before anybody throws any matches or lights any brush for a prairie.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? So how do you expect to inform the public about this? Not just the prairie, but the whole ordinance. There's a lot of
I think
things in here
it's
that people aren't following right now, I would guess.
fairly so. Yeah, you're right, Steve. It's one of those things. It's a big outreach to the local media, to probably a newsletter that I would assume that Peggy will probably be putting something out with taxes very shortly. When and if this gets adopted and moves out, I think is one of those things that we should probably send it out to everyone and let them know that the burning in the village has changed, is effective such and such a date. We can stop quite a bit of it for those that people are compliant now, those people that call the fire station and ask for the permit. We can say, hey, this is no longer effective as of such and such a date. But we definitely gotta do some community outreach. I would assume the local paper will be able to help us out, and also the mailing that you folks do at the end of the year. And then just our social media and any other social media that we have in the village for outlets.
Sounds like you got it covered.
I think we do, but there's always, will probably be 25% of those that we never reach. And we're just gonna have to do some education and some, our folks will have to just be very understanding for the first period of time.
Yeah, okay. Other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and second for the first reading of ordinance number 1805. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Jeannie.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain Benton.
Okay, item B, discussion of possible action regarding intergovernmental agreement for operation of a joint crowd control unit. The recommended motion is to authorize the village president and police chief to sign the agreement. We need a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Chief, you're on.
So just to give you a little background, Chief Leck from Stoughton put in a grant to get some money for this crowd control unit. He informed us at one of the chiefs meetings that he was doing this and asked if we had interest. The training consortium consists of Stoughton, Verona, McFarland, us, and Monona. I guess that right. There's 5 of us, and we did. The crowd control unit would be used for any type of events that would need some type of specially trained officers to help maintain peace within our villages or cities or something like that. Dane County has a crowd control unit as well, so does the city of Madison, but this would be something that we could tap into right away before we were able to get to those resources. It also allows us as agencies to provide another opportunity for officers to be part of a unit, to expand their knowledge in those type of areas as well. So he was able to get the grant funding, and so since Matt is the attorney for ourselves, Verona, Stoughton, right? They asked Matt to put that together for us, and this is what the product of it was. So hopefully we can get this going right away. I think part of the grant funding had to be that you had to start the training before the end of the year. So
Okay. Are there questions, comments? Amanda?
Just a question, what, can you give me some, for instances, you know, like things where we need something like that, like parades or riots, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's
here?
basically to keep the public peace. I mean, if you talk about things that happen in the city, social movements, that type of thing, where crowds are gathering for whatever reason, and we need someone to kind of maintain some kind of peace and order, to protect an area, that type of thing, that we would have this unit readily available with a matter of a phone call, that we could get 10 to 15 officers there right away with the proper gear to be able to handle that.
So it's more for spur of the moment things rather than planned events?
Well,
like-
planned events too,
That
but
could be
this
either.
type of thing, it's for both, obviously, but this type of thing, we would be able to get those resources quicker than if something happened and we had to call Dane County or Madison to get folks here.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions?
I would just comment, since I drafted the agreement, I mean, the way I see this working is each department has to provide at least 2 officers who would then participate in the training and be, ready to respond to an incident. And then the chiefs would select one person to supervise that group and manage their training and so on. And then, as the chief said, if any of the 5 communities learn that, oh, there's going to be some kind of a rally or demonstration in our community that's scheduled to happen next week or next month, and we think maybe there might be a need for crowd control, they can call that person who supervises the unit and say, we need this task force to help with that event. And then you've got at least 10 officers who've been trained to do that, who would be available to respond. And then they would serve under the supervision of the chief of that host community during that event. And so that's the idea. And the grant funding must be used for the training, I
For the training,
suppose.
yeah.
Yeah. And then this agreement is only effective for a couple of years, but my sense is that if the departments all find that, they had a good experience with the process and so on, once you've got it in place, it's kind of easy to continue, I would think.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like a very big commitment for any of the departments. I mean, I don't think your 2 officers are going to spend that much time doing this, but
No, I mean, the initial funding is for equipment and things like that, but we can kind of spread that out over time and lessen the cost. I think it comes to about $800 an officer or something like that.
Are we required to provide 2 officers? Like what if they're on vacation or something? I mean, or, I don't know, are they on call all the time for this
no.
task force?
So the way the agreement is set up is the person who's assigned to supervise the task force, will have to decide who would be required to respond, and they would have the ability to take into account availability. So if someone, John is on vacation, so don't schedule John. So that supervising officer will have to figure that out. And, but he could say, cancel your vacation if you needed to. I mean, under the agreement.
I think that's going to be pretty rare. We're going to supply 3, just so you know.
Oh,
We were asked to.
Or
how many we
train
wanted.
3 but provide 2 at any.
Well, we're going to train 3, and if they're available, then they're available during that time. Yeah.
What kind of equipment is, 'cause you mentioned equipment and
Yep.
training, right?
Yep, so some of the mandatory equipment is a helmet with a face shield, a gas mask, a shield, baton, shin guards, elbow pads, that type of thing.
Pepper spray, taser?
No,
Just
no,
curious.
No.
They already have that, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Other questions or comments? So the motion second on on authorized signing of this agreement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item C, discussion and possible action, ordinance number 18-16. An ordinance providing for amendment of section 1.34 of the Code of Ordinances for the Village of Oregon. New library board quorum. So our first motion is the board, by a 2/3 vote of the board members, may suspend the rules and waive the first and second readings at tonight's meeting. So I need a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Wait,
Any-
motion to waive the first and second readings? Is
Yeah.
that what we just did? Okay.
Yeah, there are 2 motions here.
Okay.
Then the next one will be to actually adopt the ordinance.
Got
so
it.
Saves the night. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'll be with you in just a minute. Second motion Since we did suspend the rules, we can need a motion for adopting ordinance number 18-16.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Just a little bit of background. The library board recently amended their bylaws, which is good to revisit from time to time. Our bylaws specified a quorum of 3 people, which was actually less than half of our board. And so less than half of our board could potentially have taken action and passed without having a majority of board members there. That is permissible by state law, but not necessarily the recommended course of action. So we amended our bylaws to reword it so that it's on page 3 in your packet of our bylaws, on the very top, section 5, it says, a quorum shall consist of a majority of the currently serving members. So that if we have 7 members, it would be 4. If we only had 6 members, it would still be 4. If we were down to 5, like we recently were, then it would be 3. So kind of scaling the quorum to the size of the board to make sure you still have a majority to constitute that quorum. And the village has an ordinance, 1.34, that also states library board quorum, and so it only makes sense to have those 2 documents in agreement, and so that's why we're coming to you recommending that you update that ordinance to coincide with the library board bylaws.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, so the motion second to adopt ordinance number 18-16. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, approval of minutes. There are none before us. Item 8, approval of vouchers. With vouchers tonight, the amount of $57,022.27 for approval.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second. Or did you make the motion?
No, I didn't make the motion. You
Then
did.
I made the motion.
And Randy second. Okay. So questions?
Anybody else?
We're waiting for you, Jerry.
Okay, thanks. Thanks,
cover all
Randy,
four.
you're so polite.
We don't need to.
You're so polite. And this is probably for Jeff. Lundgren's sign service for a street improvement project sign.
Yes.
Is that something we're gonna be able to reuse on other projects?
No, that's probably, those were signs that we had down at the brush drop-off site.
Okay.
So we had to make nice new signs. If you've been down there,
Yep.
they're directional and they tell where people to.
No, the signage is very nice.
Yes, exactly.
I just was wondering if that, I wasn't sure what it was for.
Yep.
And if it was for something general, if we could reuse those when we did other streets, so.
No. that's-
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Stafford Rosenbaum, there's, the very first item is general corporate. What does that refer to?
It's all the things that Matt or somebody in his office does for us that's not billed to a designated either project or item.
Can you give me an example?
Comes to a staff meeting and it's.
Oh, okay. Good enough.
Yeah.
General discussion.
Got it. And then Jamie Bush Development Agreement. What, is there something going on there that you haven't announced yet?
I was called and asked to provide an answer about something relating to that agreement.
It's the agreement we have with him for his expansion, Jerry. And we had a question, I don't remember exactly what it was with Matt.
I think it was during the, prior to when they were having the concert and we were trying to do the public.
It was for the fundraising for his
fundraising
thing.
thing.
Got it.
We had to look at the
You're right.
PUD
You're right.
and what was
Very good.
approved and everything. So-
Thank you. That answers my question.
Other questions? Okay, so we have a motion second for vouchers, the amount of $57,022.27. Roll call, please.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Bollig,
Yes.
Boudreaux,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Item 9 is community input. Anyone who would like to address the board tonight? It's like a quiet audience. We go to item 10, proclamations and announcements. I would like to, this just came up, but commend Jeff from Public Works for the Bryce site. It's very nicely done. I think will facilitate things working well down there. So Jeff, good job.
Seems to be working really well.
Yeah.
People have real positive feedback from it. so
Yeah.
And it's
I would
being
think
used a lot.
It's being used a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other board comments? Anyone?
Steve, would it be appropriate to extend our condolences to Greg Stanley,
Yes,
who's
thank
the chair of the planning commission, and the death of his son?
Yeah, thank you.
So our thoughts out to that family.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? Staff comments?
I just have 2 things. I have the new meeting schedule on the agenda for the board to look at. And then I just wanted to mention that The deputy director from the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission just wanted to ask me again to remind people watching this or just to continue to take what's called a Greater Madison Vision Survey. They're trying to provide a survey out to as many people as possible to take it, and then they want to come up with a 25-year plan based on the growth for Dane County shows an amazing growth over the next 25 years, 150,000 people, and so the Regional Planning Commission wants to start doing some planning. So people who have not taken the survey are encouraged to go to the greatermadisonvision.com to take the survey.
Thank you. Anything else from staff?
Did you want me to talk about the parking lot?
Please.
Okay, yeah, just as a FYI, we're having to close down the parking lot between South Main Businesses and Jefferson Crossing. The public parking lot, we're gonna close that down Thursday and Friday this week. We need to get in there and do some restriping to be able to get ready for winter, since the parking lot was not reconstructed this year. So it'll be closed Thursday and Friday. We sent out an email or this memo blast to Facebook, the website, as well as to all of the tenants and business owners over there. And we have the electronic board sign out there as well, so.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Any other staff comments? Anyone? Okay. We'll go to item 11, communication, miscellaneous business. Item A, discussion, possible action on the hiring of part-time police secretary position. Backfilling this position, recommended motion is to approve hiring Joanne Schwab as a part-time police secretary position at the 2018 hourly rate of $18.92 an hour with a starting date of November 5, 2018.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
This is the filling of a current position that we have. Jeff Arwood, who was in that position, is taking a part-time police officer position and is in the academy as well, so we needed to fill his vacancy. Joanne Schwab has prior experience in the secretary position, so we're looking forward to getting her on and completing our staff up front.
Are there questions? Okay, so we have the motion second to fill that part-time police secretary position. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item B, police department items. Residents, well, I'll let you go ahead and take this. Chief, has more power coming from you. So hope it does.
This is something that has been going on for a long time, and I think I've mentioned it maybe once or twice. Just encouraging residents to lock their vehicles, remove valuables, anything that they can do. We had just recently had a break-in where the car was left open. There was really nothing in it, so they used the garage door that was in the car to open the garage door, go in the garage, and then enter the house and steal the purse and valuables and things like that. So just encouraging residents to please lock your vehicles, lock your doors. In that particular case, we were fortunate that they went to a separate jurisdiction and they were caught, entered into a police pursuit. The car was spiked, but five of those suspects were actually tied back to Oregon, so we were able to charge them in that case. But again, please lock your doors. I also wanted to mention, besides if you guys have any questions about any of the reports that I have, just a little bit of an update in the police department. Detective Jeremy Hatfield will be reassigned from the detective position after the end of the year. He's going to go back to patrol, and Officer Will Jensen is going to go into the detective position. One of the reasons for that is not because Jeremy did anything wrong. It's because I wanted to be able to provide movement within the department to get people trained in those positions, give them specialty skills. And so in doing that, that is an appointed position, the detective position in that role. So it's going to be about every 3 to 4 years I'm going to appoint someone else into that position so I can provide better services to the community, give them additional training and that type of thing. So I wanted to mention that, give you a little update. I do want to thank Jeremy for his dedicated duties in the detective position. He's done a great job. And then Will be coming in the first of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Chief? Yes, we'll go to item C, discussion of Nancy Ellen's email from Rolling Meadows regarding affordable housing in Oregon.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it in mind, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Jerry brought this forward, right?
He did, yes.
Yeah, okay. Item D, discussion possible action regarding Federal Communications Commission, 621 cable franchising notice of proposed rulemaking. The recommended motion is to approve allocating $1,000 of cable TV fees to contest possible reduction of cable TV franchise fees. Why don't you go ahead and give us an explanation before you get
Sure.
the motion? since
So
we're-
this is, as Paul forwarded the email and information to us from cable, there is an attempt to try to reduce franchise fees, which would have obviously a negative impact on our cable TV committee and service. And we'd be hiring the same law firm and attorney that just did the closed caption study for us. And so he's someone that, it is typical, you find an attorney that specializes in cable TV, and so they'd be the same attorney and law firm.
Okay.
I'll make
I-
that one.
I'd recommend we do it, just, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll
Go
make
ahead.
that motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Questions and discussion, please.
What's going to be the tangible outcome of this contract?
To try to prevent the lowering or elimination of cable franchise fees.
So there's gonna, what's, maybe I didn't state the question good, good.
I mean, that's the goal, they're trying to.
Yeah, I get that, but how are we gonna know that $1,000 we're investing is resulting in anything? But maybe that's the question I'm asking. Is there gonna be a formal motion brought to a
He's-
specific court that we're gonna be named as a plaintiff?
He'll
or-
be, it's in front of the FCC. He's in send correspondence to the FCC contesting it.
So
And I
if we didn't participate, would he still go in front of the FCC?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's trying to get enough communities on board to then go as a group to contest this in front of the, and I suppose the more communities contesting it, the better chance he is to prevent it from happening. I can't tell you that if we don't do it, that it's gonna have a major impact either way, but I think it's worthwhile doing it for $1,000. You know, maybe Paul's got some insight on it.
Yes, anyone from cable TV want to speak about this?
No pressure.
Hi, good evening, Paul Zwicker, the Oregon Cable Access. I can't speak to an outcome per se, except the fact that we are hoping that the village goes in with the other municipalities, the Wisconsin Community Media Group that we are a part of, and fights this ruling by the FCC of this proposed rulemaking. This would bar this municipality from the authority that it currently has to get those franchise fees from the local cable providers. So basically, it could be a 20 to 30% cut in fees that are currently coming to this municipality that they can use. Municipality can use as they see fit. They could pass those on. They could use them on fill potholes, like other communities take the money and they use it as they see fit. But it is a potential reduction in costs in money you're already getting, and those fees are possibly going down as cable subscribers go down as already. We just recommend that we join this action.
Yeah,
Paul, do you know, there are several other municipalities going in?
I'm not certain
not-
as yet who is. I know that the group, Wisconsin Media, that we are part of, that lobbies for us. They are joining in this effort, and they sent out a letter that I just copied Mike on today, saying we need to do something about this, because if it's, they could really take a pretty good chunk out of the FCC's ruling. Could take a good chunk out of what you're currently getting. There's a lot of legal terminology that I can't decipher at this point.
Has
I'd
Matt
be
looked at
happy
any of
to-
this?
I'm sorry?
Has Matt looked at any of this?
No, because Matt,
This is just happening really quickly, and they're giving them a 30-day notice to respond, to seek comment from interested parties, like cable, like municipalities or cable channels who are currently running. And then they have a 30-day, so we need to make comments by the 14th, so I thought this would be pretty quick away, by November 14th.
Remind me how much we receive in franchise fees each year?
$130,000 a year.
Okay, so, and it looks like we'd be reduced to $1,000, if I'm reading this correctly? Or, oh, no, wait,
It
that's
costs
the fee.
$1,000 to participate.
Participate, never mind.
Yeah,
Not
to answer
reading that
Jeff's,
correctly.
Matt, oh, sorry. I wouldn't have Matt look at it because it'd be like when we hired Anita to look at TDS. Matt's not an expert in this. This is a specialized field, is cable TV, believe me.
So you feel, having gone through all of the material, that you would recommend that we do this? Okay.
And I'll say, this is welcome to the future. This is what's coming. They're gonna keep taking runs at it. Yeah.
I guess my only concern is, it feels like we've been solicited by an attorney whose job it is to raise money for his own purposes. And if this were to happen to me personally, there's a lot of steps that I'd want to go through before I'd send a check for $1,000, but it's not. It's happening to the village. So I'm relying on your judgment right now. Because my gut tells me I don't know enough. But if you feel comfortable, I'm comfortable with your judgment.
I feel comfortable that we're going to use the same attorney that just did the closed caption study, this is what he does for a living. He does cable TV or franchise agreements. If we were just hiring somebody that had done little work for the village or no work in the village, I would be a little more reluctant to do it.
If I may, the attorney, Bradley, is doing this on a sliding fee scale. So smaller municipalities with smaller amounts that are coming in are $500. It may be a $500 fee, depends on where we fall in that parameter. Then there's the big cities that are going to be charged $15,000 for the same service.
Yeah, so
we're not.
We're 10. Well,
We're at 130, I think, aren't we? I mean,
we're
and that's a break.
10,000 to 50,000, a flat fee of $1,000.
Oh, it was that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we peaked over
Thank
that.
you.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Do we liken this to, like, when we gave money to the League of Wisconsin Municipalities to fight the dark store loophole?
Same
I mean,
thing.
we gave that on behalf of the village. I mean,
Yep.
I see it as a good cause. Your issue, Jeff, was more with the attorney who was doing it. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I'm going 100% on faith in Mike's judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
and
have
I
enough
am,
personal information to make a decision.
right, because I don't know this attorney either, but if you guys think this is a good idea for this person to be doing it,
I thought he did a nice job on the closed caption study. He looked like he knew what he was talking about in there. And I actually, when we hired him last time, I actually looked up his firm in the Twin Cities, and this is what he does. So I think, again, we're going to make a decision. This is going to come again. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep going after franchise fees. It almost happened at the state level last year. So
And if I may, the Wisconsin Community Media Group that we are part of at Oregon Cable Access has joined, is recommending that we all get the word out and
Yep.
do what we can to fight this FCC rulemaking.
Anything else? Okay, so we have the motion second to allocate $1,000 of cable TV fees to contest possible reduction of cable TV
Thanks,
franchise
Paul.
fees. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, thank you. Okay, so this is the time I need to leave. Jerry wants to go back to item C, brought that forward, so he's gonna do that and take over, so, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, good luck, Steve.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go back to item C to discuss Nancy Allen's email, which more or less indicates that they'd like the village to here it is. Yes, they'd like more affordable housing for the seniors in this village. And I don't know what committee would look into this, Mike?
well, if we're looking at doing something like Rolling Meadows, it's probably most likely going to happen on the other side of 14. And so when we're going to hire a planner next year, that would be the person that's going to be the point person on
Okay.
affordable housing. So when you're out of the room, I thought it was a good idea. I think it'll be something we'll
Well, I
look
do
at.
too, because there's really nothing for
Yeah.
seniors
Mhm.
that are
Yep.
no longer able to live in a house. They're able to care for a home, and they want something different, and they may not be able to afford $1,500 plus.
It'll be different senior housing that we're talking about doing in conjunction with building a new
Right.
senior center. Right.
And Rolling Meadows is a cooperative, which means they're self-managed, and so they have no management expenses. They hire and subcontract all their services out there. And that's all done within the residents that live there. And they have, their most expensive unit is $165,000. And then they also have an entry-level unit for $135,000. And even using those amounts, they do cash flow at this time, and they do pay a village. They do pay village taxes. They make a payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah, pilot, yep.
So they are not being treated differently than everyone else, so they carry their share of expenses. So this is something that, it's full. Matter of fact, as you see in the note here, they've got a waiting list of, 160 people?
100 people, yeah.
100 people on the waiting list.
Yeah.
And so I think it serves a real valid purpose in the village.
So Jerry, just let me make the Oregon Housing Coalition.
Yep.
It's also on our,
That's right.
it's on our radar.
Okay.
We were actually just meeting about that today, and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with Rachel where I didn't even know about Rolling Meadows before then, and so she kind of cued me in on what they were like, what was going on there, and we would definitely like to see more and are working working to get more affordable housing across all income levels, but we definitely know that our seniors currently are the grouping most impacted by housing costs here in the village. So we want to address that.
And none of these units have stairs
That's great.
or basements, so they very accessible for seniors, and there's really nothing else in the village that is comparable to this. So this is a real need that some of our senior residents have. So how is that being addressed again by the coalition?
Well, it's on our radar. It's one of our interests.
Yeah.
As she was saying, the seniors, people with disabilities.
So the first step would be to acquire a tract of land, right?
You have to make the property available for a developer. And so a right now a developer came forward and so they want to do something like that. I'm not sure where they would go. They could possibly go on the west side, but the property had to be annexed. No matter where it's going to go, it's going to have to be annexed into the village, Jerry.
So would the developer buy the property?
Yes.
And then the developer would
Annex into the village.
and then start a cooperative?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And Jerry, Mike is part of our group as well.
Yep.
Yep.
And typically, developers, actually, it's called wedding cake financing, where the village would be an investor, the developer would be an investor, the state would be an investor, federal tax credits. There's a lot of different funding sources that would come forward to make something like that happen.
Okay. So as long as that's in progress, that's, I think, and Nancy Allen's on the board over at Rolling Meadows, so I'll get back to her tomorrow and let her know that there is progress on this.
And the president of the board is on the Affordable Housing Coalition, I believe. Well, Genesis?
No,
Scott.
two different.
Scott.
That's a different.
organizations.
Oh,
This is Rolling Meadows Cooperative.
so is that a similar structure?
No.
No, they're not even the same.
Okay, my fault.
So Genesis Housing is a rental situation. Rolling Meadows is a cooperative. When people buy units at Rolling Meadows, they are buying units in a cooperative, and when they leave Rolling Meadows, they get 90% of their initial investment
So it's like an
back.
Oakwood Village type of a
Similar
situation.
as opposed to Genesis,
Got
which
it.
is a completely rental.
Got it. Yeah, developers, they love communities that say this is what we want. We saw the video.
Yep.
The developers just say, tell us what you want us to do and give us a way to get through the process of permitting and fees, and we'll come.
Yep.
Okay. The first step would be to find a tract of land.
Yeah, the property, that'd be the key. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
If you come up with any ideas in that area.
I'll call you.
Thanks for bringing this forward.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jerry.
You're very welcome. We'll move on now to item E, which Lisa has been really excited to do. Which is the Resolution 1837, the 2018 carryovers. And there's a recommended motion is to approve Resolution 18-37.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second, and now Lisa's going to entertain us with her explanation.
These are just some things as we went through the budget process that we identified that we did not spend or we did not do this year. So in order to bring that forward, to be able to do it in 2019, we have to do this resolution saying these funds are marked to do these projects then in 2019 because we did not get to them in 2018.
Okay, thank you. And if I could ask a question about the cemetery LTE, what is that again? I know we talked about this.
That, we have implemented a software program to be able to put all of our data records electronically onto that, and that was a position which we will hire, basically someone to sit at the computer for a couple hours a week to just data entry.
Okay. And that'll be better than the system you have now, right?
Yes. Well, no, we have a good system. It's paper, but it's all paper,
okay.
but it's a very accurate and good system, but it's
Okay.
a little cumbersome.
Any questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to item F. We've got a press release regarding the new brush and yard waste drop-off site, which is now open. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to comment on there?
Just some do's and don'ts, and just ask people to be patient and follow the signs, and to make sure they dump in the right spot, and to dump onto the gravel area, and we'll keep that pushed back and everything. And so far, like I said, it seems to be working fantastic, so.
It is, and it's a nice set.
Parisi did a nice job constructing it, and the guys did a really nice job kind of putting the finishing touches with signage and some barrels and some posts and everything like that.
It's a great idea, thank you.
Yeah.
Item G, is this an FYI only?
Just FYI only, this is something, if you remember, was brought to our attention a while ago, and Fran had come in.
Did they vote on the
Just,
resolution? Did you vote on the resolution?
oh,
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I
no, they
don't
didn't.
believe we
Lisa
did.
just caught that.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna vote on Resolution 18-37, if you remember what that is.
We already.
I think we
Did
did.
you?
Jerry.
Yeah, I
Did
voted.
you?
we did.
Okay, I didn't write it
But
down,
it was
sorry.
unanimous.
I don't think they did, we had the first and the second, but I don't think you voted on it, though.
Did you actually vote?
What does Peggy's note minutes say?
Well, you did? Okay. I already
Rewind
have it
tape.
in there as an item
Chip.
because I
Well-
know that you guys go through that process.
Well, we
Let's
can
call
do
it
it
again.
again to be
Okay,
official.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Thank
carries.
There you go.
Now we're official twice, thank you.
Thank you.
I know, I just didn't write it down.
Okay,
Yeah, I
this,
wrote it down.
and so we're back on G. That's, can we turn the ringing down a little bit? Thanks. So just, these were some, like we discussed with some of the business owners there on North Main, converting 5 stalls into 4 stalls, with some handicap accessible ramp and, apron there. So actually it works out really, really well. You'll see kind of my sketch before and my sketch afterwards. They actually did the painting this afternoon. We had some good weather, and then we're gonna be doing concrete, this week or early next week for the ramp and everything. So it'll be a really nice addition over there. When I looked at it, I met with Fran, I told her, I said, this is a good idea. So not all ideas that were brought to us are really good ideas, and this is definitely a good idea, so she's very happy with it.
I just want to say thank you all for doing that. It's nice to see the fruition of some of the ideas that have come up with the downtown parking discussions.
Yep.
And it does not just benefit those businesses.
No.
I know lots of people who look for a handicap spot and they may not find it and they end up driving around and waiting because there just wasn't enough downtown. So I know people who are going to benefit from this who may not even use the North Main.
Exactly. This will
businesses. So it's a
benefit.
good thing.
Actually, it's right at the nexus of all the roadways there, and it's going to it could benefit someone going to Senior Peppers, Main Tap, Chocolate Caper, anyone in that vicinity and everything like that. And that's why I said when I started looking at it, I looked at the only ADA parking spaces we have out here in this parking lot are right out our back door, and that's where it was. And I remember thinking we really should have something on that side of the parking lot. So it's a good idea.
No, it's a great
Thank you.
improvement. Thank you. So, item H and I think I'm gonna let staff handle those two.
On each, we talked to the board about this before. Thursday, November 15th, the village hall will be closed for the data that we did last year to allow staff time to clean and address some outstanding filing.
Very good.
Hey, Mike, just a comment. Maybe it might be good to consider possibly making this like Veterans Day every year in recognition of service men and women, and it kind of dovetailing with the fact that federal facilities are closed anyway. I don't think it would be that much of a shock for village facilities
I
to be
see.
closed at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then you could just put it on the calendar and roll it out. And, plus the benefit to, well, that's enough.
Okay.
Doesn't it have to be a holiday pay then?
No, they was,
No, we work
we still be
anyway.
working.
They're
Right.
closed to
The
the
day
public.
off.
It's
Okay, not a day off, okay, all
No,
right.
it's not
I
a day
didn't
off
know
for
if
us.
We're doing
making,
it- we're doing it-
I know you guys will be there, but I'm saying if you do it like a Veterans Day thing, I didn't know if that,
No.
if it's a federal holiday, do you know what I mean?
I think what Jeff's saying is that some people think we're closed on some of those days that the state and federal are closed. It'd be easier for people to know that we're maybe are closed on a day like that. We still be
Okay.
here. The reason we're closing this day is because that's our annual employee luncheon. It's kind of nice for once everyone's will be able to come, particularly from upstairs down to the lunch at the same time.
I think it's a great idea to close
Yeah.
one
And
day
we're
a year.
already advertising it and publicizing it, so. And then the next item is there is a park board vacancy, and if people are interested, I already have somebody emailing me about it, and if they are, just please email me, catch my email on the Village of the Blood page.
Very good. We'll move on to, if there are no questions on either one of those items, we'll move on to item J, a discussion and possible action regarding the change of agent for Quick Trip number 302. And I have a recommended motion to approve the change of agent to Tanya J. Fitzsimmons at Quick Trip number 302. And an informational note, Chief Ewell has approved Tanya.
I'll move, Gary.
Thanks. Randy moved.
I'll second that.
And Jenna seconded that motion. Any further discussion on that item?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just wondering what a change of agent means. Did somebody else buy the property or is managing it? Well, I don't understand.
Just a change of positions within the Quick Trip. Someone else is responsible for the alcohol sales and stuff within the store.
Generally,
It happens a lot. They change agents. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know why that was. I thought, is it being like franchised to somebody
No,
else?
just
or
personnel
how that-
changes.
Typically a new manager.
Okay. That's all.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item K, discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of a street sweeper, Johnson BT 651 vacuum sweeper. And we're gonna recommend a motion here to approve the procurement of a 2018 Johnson model VT 651 vacuum sweeper truck from Envirotech Equipment for $250,000, less the trade-in, amount to Envirotech of $10,000 for the existing Johnson Street sweeper. Funding for this will be $200,000 from 2018 equipment borrowing, and $20,000 from the water utility, and $20,000 from the sewer utility. Would someone like to make that motion, please?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
Jeff only worked 10? That's it?
Well,
You have to include the duct tape.
Is it that bad?
Doesn't include the $4,000 of duct tape we
It
have
was
on
91, right? Is that-
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, it's definitely, 27 years old.
Yeah.
A couple of things, just to give you like how we got to this. Our initial idea was we were purchasing a leaf vacuum this year. Honestly, things just got crazy with us, and we did not get time to demo them. And by the time we would be, even if we would order one today, it would be either spring, and we won't be using it until fall next year. We'll be using our regular vacuum this year, which I'm not happy with, and I'm frustrated with myself a little bit for it, but that's how things sometimes run. So we borrowed $200,000 last year, and then this next year we were borrowing up to $260,000, I believe, for the street sweeper. Street sweeper is definitely on its last legs. We bought it actually, I believe, either as a demo unit or as used 27 years ago when we bought this one. We actually had the opportunity to demo a few units that came out and cleaned our parking lot, and then the guys took them out on the curbs and had them run them. Actually, it was kind of funny because when I saw one of the vendors, I asked him the next day, I said, "How'd it go?" He says, "Not good." And so the guys were actually running it through the tests and everything and doing a nice job, because we were looking at two different types, and the one type is not a good type for us to use. And so I did seek out some bids and some prices for these different units. As it turns out, the unit that, at least I was being told by staff that they preferred was the Johnston unit. And then I was contacted by Envirotech saying that, you know, they would be interested in selling us their demo unit. And this is a demo unit with actually quite a bit of bells and whistles on it. And then we asked them, what about, you know, a trade-in value for our Johnston? Because we either, our old Johnston sweeper, either we would trade it in or sell it on the auction site. And we were estimating, you know, well, we weren't estimating $10,000, you know, for that. And they came back at $5,000. To Gary's credit, he said that's not enough, and they came back with $10,000. So I want to give him a lot of credit, and credit where credit's due for that. So, you know, in a nutshell, this is probably about a $262,000+ piece of equipment that, after we're done with trade-in, we get for about $240,000. It only has 17 hours on the auxiliary engine, which is very low, and less than 5,000 miles on the chassis, which is also extremely low. Our thought process is actually we can use this machine this year. Still, we would, if this is approved by the village board, we would probably have the machine within a week to 2 weeks and still be using it this year as well as into spring. So we can capture that. I will say last year, I think we probably had to put $5,000 to $6,000 of repair on our Johnston sweeper, just on motors and blowers and stuff like that. So my idea was maybe just flip-flop. Instead of buying the leaf blower this year and the street sweeper next, that we would have this opportunity, we would flip-flop, and then we would be able to demo leaf blowers. And we're using borrowed money last year for the leaf vac to play for the street sweeper, but it works out. And I've worked with Mike and Lisa on that, so that's my sales pitch.
Okay. What's an auxiliary engine on a street
Well,
sweeper?
okay, when you have a street sweeper, you have the chassis, which is the frame of the truck you buy. It's usually International or something like that. That has one main engine and under the hood and everything like that. And then you've got an auxiliary engine which runs all the vacuum and the pumps and everything else and goes with it. And so there's two things you're looking at, is the age of the chassis and then how much the auxiliary engine has been used. And that's kind of an indicator of how much the piece of equipment has been used.
All right.
Yep.
All right, this motion has already been made and seconded, so unless there's further discussion or questions, I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
On behalf of the guys, thank you. They're excited about this one too.
And so you'll be not buying the leaf blower then?
Leaf vac.
We'll be buying that in 2019.
In 2019.
Assuming you approve the budget and everything
Okay.
like that.
Item L, discussion and possible action regarding 2018-2019 snow and ice control program mobility and safety. Recommended motion is to approve the 2018-2019 snow and ice control program entitled Mobility and Safety. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make,
I'll move, Jerry.
Thank you, Randy.
I'll second.
Thank you. And this is, I'll just add that this is an annual.
This is an annual thing. Yeah, it wasn't ready until I was watching the Badger game on Saturday, and then no, it was prepared last week. But yeah, this is upon us, and really just updated every year. It's something that we do to have that program in place before we really need to. And I meet with my guys tomorrow to go over this.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item M, discussion and possible action regarding the authorization of hiring of a full-time Public Works crew person, backfilling the position, at the 2018 hourly rate of $17 with a start date of November 1st, 2018.
And Jerry, and so what happened between the agenda and what you're reading now, the PD finished its background. So there's a memo in your folder.
In that.
Yep, on the folder.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, we were just waiting for one or two final things on that. And
So the motion that we would be asking for is what's at the bottom of the.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna have a new
Yep.
suggested motion here of.
We're still backfilling the position, so that what you read was accurate.
So the new motion is to approve Jesse Wunsch for hire for the Public Works crew person position at a rate of $17 an hour with full benefits per the employee handbook.
I'll move, Jerry.
And I'll go ahead. I'll second again.
All right.
Yeah, this is, remember when Dan Schultz retired in the middle of the summer? Through the process this summer, we elevated, through the process of interviewing and everything, elevated Billy Hansen up to the Parks position, which is where Dan was. That left a vacancy in our Public Works position. We went out, we had 19 complete applications. We interviewed 8. We narrowed that down to 3. Re-interviewed those 3, and I think Jesse is, I've known Jesse actually for a while, just through interaction here in the village, and he's a good young man. He's scored very high in, I think, the ethical issues and stuff, and with in the review that the police did, and I think he's going to be a great fit for our Public Works, and I would highly recommend we hire him and add him to staff.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to take a moment to say I'm fully in support of hiring Jesse for this position. I'm glad we have a candidate that Jeff's excited about. But I thought it was a good opportunity, since we were also talking about affordable housing, just a few bullet points I had to point out that although I know Jeff and Mike do a great job of making sure that we're hiring at a competitive wage and making sure that we're pricing appropriately for the industry for which we are hiring, that $17 an hour is not enough for somebody to buy a home in Oregon. So to just keep in mind as we talk about workforce housing and expanding the options for housing in this community, that one of the reasons why we're doing that is so that the people who, our public servants, the people who are supporting our community on an everyday basis, can also live here and enjoy what our community has to offer. So,
Well said.
Thank you, Jenna.
I wrote it down.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Jeff, you're batting 1,000 so far.
If you vote this next one down, you're going to find it in your driveway.
It's right over there, Jerry, too.
Okay.
I need a
Wait,
metal
have you
cabinet.
already
there.
sold this stuff
It's in
though
the back
yet?
of the
Or-
room.
No.
Jeff, I need a metal cabinet. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll move on to item N. Discussion and possible action regarding surplus items. And the motion we have in front of us is to declare items listed in October 19th memorandum from Director of Public Works Jeff Rao a surplus and approve the disposal or recycling of materials. Could I please have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I will second it.
Thank you.
Good, because it's already gone.
Right.
No.
Better
To
get
my
done.
credit, it is sitting in the back of the room here.
Okay.
Nothing's been
I don't
tried.
see
This is
anything.
just obviously with the upgrade of the sound system, which I'm still working on some tweaks and everything, but all the very old equipment is extremely old and just needs to be disposed of, so.
And I'll
Including
just-
the VCRs.
I'll just read this list just for public knowledge. Metal rack cabinet, an old sound computer, 2 VCRs, 1 cassette deck, amplifiers and mixer and power center from former AV system,
Yeah.
miscellaneous electrical and audio components, miscellaneous audio cables and patch cords, microphone base stands, and handheld microphones that probably don't work. Never
You sell
did.
the VCRs and cassette decks on eBay. Those are vintage.
Yeah,
I think maybe they need to go to the museum.
No, we'll take them down to the police department. They seem very interested.
So instead of my driveway, drop them off there tonight, okay?
Chief's office, yes.
So is there, are all of these just beyond hope, or is it something where we might, I don't know, have like a garage sale or
She wants a
something
VCR.
I'm just,
I would ask OCA Media if they see any value in it, and they've told me no.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, Oregon Facebook garage sale, somebody might,
Is that how you
I
want our
don't
staff
know,
to
like-
spend their time?
Yeah.
probably not, but,
Jeff, do they go to swap, or where do they end up?
yeah.
Dump?
The dumpster
Or-
behind the fire department.
Right.
They don't go to swap.
Right.
The
There-
big recycle
Actually,
bins.
the metal
So it gets
stuff, the metal
recycled.
stuff we'll put
Okay.
in the metal recycle bins.
Okay.
And so that stuff that can be recycled, we will, and most of it's just, what do you do with the VCR?
Yeah.
Microphone
Well, you could have
base
taken it to the
stands.
rotary recycling thing that happened a couple weeks ago, but
but that would have
A little
been
late.
prior to the vote.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
You don't do that.
I don't do that anymore.
Let's save it for next year.
Anymore.
Someone picked up on that.
He has a good memory. He got caught once, so. Any other comments? Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Item 12, reports of committees, none. Item 13, minutes not requiring action. We've got library board meeting of September 18th, the cable TV committee meeting of September 13th. And C, the Oregon Area Fire EMS District Commission minutes of September 6th and the joint meeting of September 26th. Item 14, unfinished business, none. Item 15, new business. We've got the approval of pending new operator licenses, and footnote here is they're recommended for approval by the police department. We've got Quick Trip number 302, Cody Burrow, Mahan's Liquor, Jack Scott, The Legends of Bergamot, Joshua Kentrick, and Gabrielle Surgis. This is a vote, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. Could I please have a motion to approve those new operator licenses?
So moved.
And
Second.
second, please. And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of pending renewal operator licenses, and these again are recommended by the police department, and we don't have any.
Nope, you're at adjournment, Jerry, sorry.
I'm at adjournment.
You're on item,
All
sorry.
right. Item 17, the motion for adjournment.
I'll move adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.